What's up, fam? It's your girl Naia, the self-crowned reaction queen. Back at it again with another banger today. We're diving into a video that's got me all kinds of curious. Nobody cares about AI anymore from KnowledgeHusk. Like, wait, what? Are we seriously over AI? I mean, it feels like just yesterday everyone was obsessed with it. I can't wait to see what they have to say, and if it's really true. So grab your snacks, get comfy, and let's find out together if AI is really taking a backseat or if it's just a wild rumor. And hey, if you're vibing with the energy, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get into it.
This video is sponsored by people were acting like this thing, AI. This was a big deal. We're on the cusp of an S-curve where AI would get so good so quickly we can't even keep up with it. The singularity, that's coming in just a few years, don't you worry. And to be fair, for a while there, it was kind of hard for people to discern the hype from reality.
That headline is wild. Glue pizza and eat rocks. Sounds like Google I is having a bit of a meltdown. Can't wait to see what kind of chaos this leads to.
As soon as people started to lose interest, we would see these amazing new demos pop up. Like, remember in February 2024 when OpenAI showed off Sora? That amazing text-to-video.
Sora was a game changer. Text-to-video? That's next level stuff. I can only imagine the creative possibilities. What will they think of next?
Video generator that you could just type in whatever you want and it's gonna make a short movie about it. That stuff was wacky. What happened to it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Don't think about it. A lot of the demos from the past few years are starting to look a little bit sketchy, right? I mean, all this stuff that these companies showed off, all these amazing tech demos were created in ideal circumstances with minimal variables to mess up, and it all gave the impression that the technology was way more advanced than it seems like it actually was. And that makes sense, you know. You don't want to get left behind when there's an arms race, when the competition is marching forward. And everybody wanted to be on the cutting edge of this AI technology that was supposed to change the world. Big tech spent billions. Actually, they wanted to spend trillions because, again, this was a big deal. The biggest deal. The next industrial revolution.
Calling it the next industrial revolution? That's some serious hype. If I really is that transformates, we're in for a wild ride. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
And all of this money and all of this hype would all lead up to the most significant events in AI history. The point where it would finally reach mass adoption. The whole world would see once and for all how important this technology really was. And yeah, turns out nobody cared. Yeah, nobody cares about AI anymore. Okay.
Wait, what? Nobody cares about AI anymore? That's a shocking twist. I mean, it was all the rage just a moment ago. What happened? Did everyone just move on to the next shiny thing?
Anymore. Okay, so recently Apple announced a new line of Macs using their new M4 chip. And while Apple themselves are more than eager to bring up the fact that the new computers support Apple Intelligence, simply because they added more RAM to them, most websites that cover the story don't mention Apple Intelligence in their headlines. I suspect that the websites reporting the news are learning that AI isn't getting people's attention like it used to, so they don't bother covering it. Because
that's a real mood. It's like the excitement just fizzled out. People are probably just tired of hearing the same old AI hype. What's next, right?
Because, you know, nobody really cares about AI anymore. Either way.
Wow, it's like a full circle moment. The media is picking up on a lack of interest too. It's wild how quickly trends can shift. What's the next big thing going to be?
Either way, I'm glad. Look, at least where I live, in the good old US of A, trust in the media and journalism is...
Trust in the media hitting a new low? That's a major red flag. With only 31 feeling confident in how news is reported, it's no wonder people are tuning out. What's going on with journalism these days?
Journalism is in the description. Okay, so quick refresher. The term AI today, it means actually nothing. Artificial intelligence.
I means nothing. That's a bold statement. It really makes you think about how the term has been stretched and misused. What's the real deal with AI these days?
Artificial intelligence is a term that's been used in tech for decades. Everything in software could be called AI if you try hard enough. In this modern use of this term, it's just a buzzword.
Equipa de segurança da Bolt. ao teu lado em cada viagem.
But
Calling AI just a buzzword, that's a hot take. It's crazy how something so impactful can get reduced to trendy jargon. What's next? Are we going to start calling it smart software?
generally speaking, AI today in the 2020s refers to large language models that do allow computers to do unique things that couldn't really be done in the past all that easily. To really simplify this idea, you basically take a lot of data, give it to a computer, and let the computer kind of figure out what to do with that information. So like, you know, you tell a computer what is dog, what is shoe, and then it can figure out that's a dog, that's a shoe, because that looks like a dog, and that looks like a shoe. But over enough time, with enough information, these LLMs can string together sentences and create images and music and give the illusion of intelligence. Now, we don't really know the full capabilities of what LLMs can do, but we are starting to see that they have some significant limitations. They need a lot of training data, which today basically means just dump the entire internet into them. This means using copyrighted data without the original creator's permission, which
That's a huge issue. Using copyrighted data without permission raises some serious ethical questions. It's like the Wild West out here with training data. How do we balance innovation and respect for creators?
which has caused legal issues, and we've seen without this copyrighted data, LLMs are kinda
Legal issues piling up? That's a recipe for disaster. And the visual of trash cans really drives the point home. Without the right data, these models might just end up in the garbage.
kinda useless. There's also only so much information to go around before the AIs just start, eating.
Whoa, that image is intense. It really captures the idea that AI-generated content could poison future models. It's like a digital apocalypse waiting to happen. What a wild thought.
Eating themselves, training themselves off of data provided by AIs. And that just makes things extremely unreliable. It also takes a lot of energy to run these things.
Energy consumption is a huge factor. Those visuals really drive home how much power these AI models need to operate. It's like we're trading one resource for another. What's the environmental cost of all this tech?
Things. Microsoft and Google are even looking at getting nuclear power plants to keep this whole thing running smoothly. Now, I'm not an expert on anything, but unfortunately, it does seem like most experts working at these companies do have a lot of financial interest in overhyping the tech.
That's a classic reference. It's like the tech world is the Wizard of Oz, lots of smoke and mirrors. It makes you wonder what's really behind the curtain. Are we getting the full picture, or just a flashy show?
A lot of this just comes off as smoke and mirrors. Like, yeah, we were seeing some cool stuff a few years ago, but since then, it's been slight upgrades and slight improvements to existing technology. All the while, these companies are spending an insane amount of money using a lot of power to just give the illusion of exponential progress. Why bother doing this? Probably investors. AI has catapulted otherwise simply multi-billion-dollar corporations into multi-trillion-dollar corporations.
With Nvidia overtaking Apple, that's a major shift in the tech landscape. It really shows how AI is reshaping the market and creating new power players. What a time to be in tech.
Investors have no idea what they're investing in. They just know that they're probably going to make a lot of money. I've talked about the limits of AI before, why I feel that this is a bubble. But all of this, the future of LLMs, of the AI term in marketing, it all hinged on one thing. Do normal, average, everyday people actually care? So at first, yeah, it did seem like people cared. It was all over the news. People were talking about how robots are going to take over the world.
Remember when ChatGPT hit 100 million users in just 2 months? That was a wild moment. It felt like everyone was suddenly an AI expert. The hype was real, but it makes you wonder how long that excitement can last.
Over the world, ChatGPT was getting lots and lots of active users. There was clearly a market. But the tools, as they existed, they didn't really offer that much to the average person, right? People writing code on computers could ask the software to assist them. Students could try and get the AI to, let them cheat on their homework. But beyond this, it seemed like it was only really helpful for most people once or twice out of a month or a year. And look, I think companies realized this pretty quickly, that the average person just wasn't that interested in AI. I mean, they have the user data. They know what people are using this for. And I imagine a lot of the time people were just making memes or doing generally other
Memes and fun content, that's classic internet behavior. It's hilarious how AI tools can end up being used for the most unexpected things. Who knew we'd be using cutting-edge tech to create the next viral meme?
other unproductive things, not participating in the productivity and economic growth that would warrant this extreme hype from investors. I think that companies realized that to make these things useful to the average person, they couldn't just rely on these apps that people had to download, that users would open on occasion and ask questions for. No, this AI would have to be integrated into the device that people use the most, the smartphone.
Integrating AI into smartphones? That's a game changer. It makes total sense. Everyone's glued to their phones. If I can be right there in our pockets, it could really change how we interact with technology daily.
AI is still just software. It can't learn on its own, and it can't infer what you specifically want it to do without you telling it what you want it to do. It can't remind you that you have a dentist appointment in 3 weeks unless you tell it to remind you that you have a dentist appointment in 3 weeks. And we already have that technology. We've had it for a while. So the average person is not going to see significant improvements in their life. They're not going to get a lot of value out of these digital assistants unless they give them access to everything. Their phone's camera, the microphone, every waking moment of your life. No need to remember what to buy at the grocery store. The AI will tell you. It knows what's in your fridge. It knows what you eat. No need to remember anybody's name. The AI was recording when they introduced themselves 3 months ago. If it studies your work habits, knows what you prioritize, it knows what emails you need to respond to, or how many calories you've consumed in a day, and which ads to shove in.
Whoa, that's a bit creepy. If I knows all that about us, it's like living in a sci-fi movie. But then again, it raises some serious privacy concerns. Are we ready for that level of surveillance?
Shove in front of your face.
Se gripe, eficácia imbatível desde os primeiros sintomas. Se é gripe, se gripe.
If you watch live TV, there's constantly some phone ad talking about the new AI. This was as big of a push as the AI technology was ever going to get, or any technology could ever get. And it turns out, people just didn't care.
Wow, that's a surprising twist. After all the hype, people just aren't buying into it. It really makes you wonder what it takes to capture the public's interest these days. What's next for tech?
So the new iPhone 16, which has been marketed as the first iPhone built for Apple Intelligence.
The iPhone 16 being marketed for Apple Intelligence? That's a bold move. It'll be interesting to see if this actually resonates with users or if it's just more buzz. Can Apple really make AI a selling point?
And they keep repeating that line over and over again in their ads. Yeah, it's not.
Ouch, a 12/7 drop in pre-orders? That's gotta sting. It seems like all the marketing hype isn't translating to sales. Maybe people are just not feeling the AI push after all.
Not selling that well. It is.
That headline is a real eye-opener. If the iPhone 16 is underperforming, it raises questions about the future of tech marketing. Are consumers just not buying into the AI hype anymore?
It has not come close to meeting sales expectations. In fact, it's actually like one of the worst selling iPhones in years. Now, I should mention that a lot of the AI features for the iPhone 16 aren't actually usable right now, but since Apple seems to be marketing them as if they are usable and functioning, I think it's safe to assume that most consumers assume that the AI features are normal, working, and fun.
That's a big misconception. If consumers think the AI features are fully functional but they're not, that could lead to some serious disappointment. It's like selling a promise without delivering.
Working and functioning. And I don't think there's any reason to expect that sales are going to skyrocket once updates come out that actually make the AI features work. Now, for tech enthusiasts out there, this probably was not a huge surprise. The iPhone 16 is not a major upgrade cycle. The whole advertising campaign that claims that the phone was built for Apple Intelligence from the ground up, it's basically BS. This AI stuff could have ran on older devices. In fact, it does run on an older device, but Apple just didn't have enough memory.
That's a surprising twist. If the AI features could run on older devices, it really makes you question the marketing strategy. It's like they're trying to sell us on something that's not even exclusive.
Enough memory in their phones, enough RAM to make it work locally. If they wanted to, they could make it work through the cloud, honestly, but they won't because Apple. But yeah, the average consumer wouldn't know anything about any of this. To them, it's just this new iPhone equals AI. Huge upgrade, big upgrade. And even still, nobody bothered to buy it. Well, except for in China. It actually did pretty well over there. But funnily enough, in that market, AI is not a big selling point because nobody knows if...
That's an interesting twist. In China, it seems like the AI hype isn't resonating as much. It's wild how different markets can react to the same technology. And those little characters are adorable, definitely a fun distraction.
Because nobody knows if China will even allow the phones to get Apple Intelligence. Yeah, I'm just speculating here, but looking at all this information, it kind of feels like using AI as a marketing term is actually backfiring. Like it's actually hurting these products' sales, right? I suppose there is some evidence for this. I mean, remember the reaction to Microsoft's idiotic approach to AI? The whole Copilot thing? The fact it wanted to take a picture of your computer screen every few seconds?
That was a major privacy red flag. People were understandably freaked out about AI taking screenshots without consent. It's a perfect example of how misusing AI can backfire and damage trust. What were they thinking?
Yeah, that didn't go over well. But honestly, I didn't even expect that for something with as broad appeal as an iPhone, that AI could hurt sales. But that's kind of what it's looking like. I mean, look, people will buy a new iPhone for pretty much any reason. If it had a redesigned camera notch or new wacky colors, people would be all over this. But the whole Apple Intelligence thing, the whole AI thing, the whole big thing in tech isn't enough to get people to upgrade. So why is this? Why don't people care? I suppose you could make an argument that, in part, people just aren't willing to make the trade-off between privacy and convenience. Or at least not in this particular case. Okay, generally in tech, people always make this trade-off. You know, by using the internet, by just using a smartphone, you're already trading your privacy for convenience. The convenience of being connected to the larger world. But I think for most people, the vague benefits of this AI tech just aren't enough to warrant this level of an invasion of privacy. Or maybe it really is as simple as nobody cares. People just...
That's a real possibility. Sometimes it really is just about people not caring enough to make a change. If the excitement isn't there, it's hard to drive sales, no matter how much tech is hyped up.
People just do not care. Every time I go online and see somebody make some giant rant about how great AI is, how much it's increased their productivity, it's always somebody using it to write code or something computing related. And that's fine. If this is a technology that works for you, that improves your life, good for you. But just because it works for some people doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. There's a reason not everybody uses Linux. There's a reason people are fine that Macs don't have a proper file directory thing. Not everything has to be made for everybody. But there is a point at which something can just be too niche. But look, tech bros and CEOs don't dictate what becomes popular. Okay, so there's this often cited quote from notorious asshole Steve Jobs. He said, "Some people say, give the customers what they want. But that's not my approach. Our job is to figure out what they're going to want before they do." I think Henry Ford once said, "If I asked customers what they wanted, they would have told me a faster horse." People don't know what they want until you show it to them. That's why I never rely on market research. Our task is to read things that are not yet on the page. Okay, Steve, you're wrong.
That's a bold statement. It's interesting how the tech world often thinks it knows what people want, but sometimes it misses the mark. The cat in the pool is a perfect visual for that, just floating along confused.
You're wrong, and I know you're not listening to this because you're dead, but I still want you to know that.
The visuals are hilarious. A skeleton in a pool with headphones. That's a wild way to make a point. It's like saying even the dead can't escape the tech hype. What a fun way to drive home the message.
That Steve Jobs said we're never going to do a stylus, and guess...
That's a classic moment. Steve Jobs famously dismissed the stylus, and now look at how far we've come with touchscreens. It's funny how tech evolves sometimes in ways we never expected.
Stylus. And guess what? People wanted one.
The irony is real. After all that talk about never using a stylus, here comes the Apple Pencil. It's like a plot twist in the tech world. You can't help but laugh at how things come full circle.
People wanted one, so Apple did it. He said that nobody was going to want a big smartphone, and people did. Apple really just phased out those small phones completely. People always mention that in the 90s, the average person would say that the internet was just a fad, so we shouldn't listen to the average person. Now, in a large part, that is just revisionist history. Yeah, people said that. There were a few articles definitely written, sure, but a lot of people were still using the internet. And those that didn't use it just didn't have a need for it. You see, it wasn't that the consumers were just too stupid to understand how great this technology, the internet, was. It was that the internet wasn't great enough for the consumers. If you told some average guy in the early 90s, hey, there's this new tool that you can communicate with random people and send information all through this pretty clunky computer interface, well, they would say, that's fine, that's great, but I can already do a lot of this with other technologies. I can use a phone, I can use a fax machine, and why would I want to talk to random people? Now, if you told them what the internet would become, if you said that it would allow people to watch any TV show at any time, listen to any song, play video games against hundreds of real opponents across the globe, allow anybody to basically start their own TV station, shop from home online without leaving the house, or talk to your friends at any time with no need to call their home, they would say, that sounds great. That's
a classic moment. If you told people back then about the internet's potential, they'd be blown away. The visuals are hilarious too, perfectly capturing that nostalgic tech vibe.
That sounds amazing. It's not.
The SpongeBob and Patrick visual is perfect. It captures that awe and excitement perfectly. It's like they're realizing the internet is a game changer. What a fun way to illustrate the point.
It's not that the people didn't know what they wanted, it's that the technology just didn't exist. And look, this is the same way that AI kind of functions today. If you told people that there was a robot that you could buy right now that could cook in...
That's a hilarious visual. If only cooking robots were as simple as that. It really highlights how people might not realize the potential of AI until they see it in action. What a fun way to illustrate the point.
Could cook and clean and drive to the store and send emails or repair your house and entertain...
The Jetsons reference is spot on. If only we had those kinds of robots today. It perfectly captures the gap between what people imagine and what technology can actually do right now. It's a fun reminder of how far we have to go.
Entertain guests and offer a shoulder to cry on. A machine that could meticulously manage the mundane aspects of your life that you just didn't want to deal with. People wouldn't say, oh, this is garbage, this is useless, just because it's AI. They would say, this is amazing. Sign me up. Because that sounds like a thing that can offer a genuine improvement to somebody's quality of life. But when you tell people that, hey, there's this thing in your phone that's gonna remind you which Mexican restaurant your friend recommended 3 weeks ago, that just sounds...
That's a relatable moment. If AI is just reminding you of things like restaurant recommendations, it feels less revolutionary. It's like, great, but what else can you do? It's all about the perceived value.
That just sounds...
Alright fam, that was a wild ride through Nobody Cares About AI Anymore from KnowledgeHusk. We kick things off with that jaw-dropping headline, and honestly, the twists just kept coming. Who knew that AI could go from the next big thing to something people might not even care about? We went from glud pizza and eat rocks to questioning if AI is just another buzzword, and it's wild how quickly the hype can fizzle out. Honestly, that "a means nothing" line hit hard. It really makes you think about how this tech once seen as revolutionary is almost becoming a cliche, and the visual metaphors, a skeleton chilling in a pool with headphones, classic. It was a mix of laughs and some real talk about the ethical and environmental implications. Who knew AI could spark such deep convo while we were all just trying to vibe? So what's the takeaway? While AI still has loads of potential, it looks like the public's fascination might be trailing off for now. It's like we're waiting for the next shiny object to capture our attention. But hey, whether it's AI or the latest meme, I'll be right here reacting to it all. If you enjoyed this reaction and want to keep this energy going, smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Let's keep the conversation rolling and see where this tech roller coaster takes us next. Catch you in the next one, fam.